edit it. So
Okay.
anyway, I am so excited that we could come together and take advantage of this technology. Barbara, you're an awesome woman. You're a trailblazer. You're a woman who rocks. You're a mentor. You're a wife, a grandmother, a sister friend, a leader, a visionary, an advocate. I mean, you just wear so many hats and you wear them so well. And for the benefit of my audience, I just want to read very quickly from the back of your wonderful book that you mailed to me. I'm gonna, because your bio is amazing, and I want people to know how blessed I am to be connected to you. Barbara is a certified life coach, ordained minister of spiritual consciousness. She has been thriving in her private practice since January 2000. Coach Barbara is a global inspirational speaker and author of 6 books. She holds a Master of Art degree in Human Development from Pacific Oaks College in Pasadena, California, where she served as an adjunct instructor for 6 years. She and her husband, Stanley Perkins, of 33 years, currently relocated from Los Angeles, our loss, to Atlanta. They have 2 adult children, Kelsey and Cody, and a grandson, Emir Stanley. And so, yay, thank you for sending me your wonderful book, forward by Iyanla Vanzant. This is a wonderful message.
Thank you.
Barbara is an author of books on mentoring, grief, betrayal, marriage, and her last offering is on restoration, 7 promises of God. And I love some of the titles of your book, Barbara. Chapters: Divine Assignment, Blessed to be a Blessing, looking at your children, cutting your hair after your cancer bout. It was a very personal testimony with pictures and stories and details. And I'm grateful that you said yes to this interview. I know you're in high demand. And I said I wanted to talk about 3 different things, but we'll kind of let the Holy Spirit guide us.
Yes.
The 3 things that struck me that I think my audience would appreciate hearing from you are about your recovery from your cancer, your leadership skills, because you're quite an amazing leader, and also your faith walk during this crisis. How are you coping? I know that both you and your husband have experience in empowering others what to do in case of emergencies. Your husband is a retired captain, right? Fire captain.
Yes.
And you were in the airline industry, so I know airline stewardesses had to know how to prepare for emergencies.
That's right.
Isn't it amazing that now that the airline industry has been so disruptive that so many people have lost their jobs, and you are on the other side of that. Have you been communicating to fellow co-workers from your past to get a sense of how they're reacting and what they're feeling during this disruption?
Actually, I have. So let me say first, thank you for the invitation to be with you. You know, I am a follower and an admirer of you and your work for a long time. And I think we do the same thing. I think we wake up every morning, we ask God to use us in whatever way he chooses.
Yeah.
And
our assignment today.
Exactly. A lot of people just, they describe it as being inspirational, and I hope so. But the most important thing is that I hope that I'm following the will of God for my life.
Me too.
And that doesn't always show up the way other people may want it to look. But I'm okay with that. I've learned to become okay with that. So thank you for your willingness and desire to move my story forward. My story is yours. So thank you.
And also, let me just say very quickly, on behalf of my family and I, thank you so much for the years ago when you honored me at your ICU Awards.
Yes.
You honored myself and Iyanla Vanzant and Dr. Rosie Milligan and, oh God, I could see his face. Oh, Michael Eric Dyson.
Yeah, he was our speaker that year.
Yeah, and that was an amazing, that picture that my family and I took is on my refrigerator. Because my son that has gone to heaven is in that picture.
He's in there.
And he was so proud of me, you know? And that was a glorious event, just first class. And thank you so much. I loved when I got to go to South Africa a couple of years ago, and I was able to walk on our motherland and understand that greeting of "I see you." I said,
Yes.
oh, that's where Barbara got that
Yes. That's
from, you
right.
know. In other words,
Right.
instead of saying "I love you," or it's like,
Right.
no, I see you,
I see you.
and I see you. You know. Yeah. So thank you for you saw me years ago, and it just gave me a lift to know that okay. I am doing God's work. And I know that you can resonate with this when I say, sometimes we do question ourselves and say, okay, God, am I doing enough? And am I still on the
Right.
right assignment?
Right.
Because, you know, in the flesh, our ego, we do
Mhm.
want the feedback, but sometimes we have to
Yes.
remember that's not important. Just do it, just show up.
That's
And
right.
in this season of people being still and quiet, I'm getting so many emails and text messages. Jewel, I'm going through my stuff and I'm seeing your handouts from the 1980s and the
Yes.
1990s, and I'm applying what you taught me in 2010 or whatever. And it's like, okay, God, so the seeds did not hit
Yes.
hard ground, you know?
Yes.
So
You
yeah,
know, I'm going to answer your question, but I also want to just confirm something that just happened.
Okay.
Yesterday, a mutual friend of ours, Juanita Wright, classmate of yours, sent me, she was cleaning and sent me the copy of a program from 2005 when Sisters at the Well we were doing something called the Sister Speak series.
Yes.
And she said, I'm going to send it to you. And it shows where she wrote all and took notes all on it, all in the corner. So that's the one. And then this morning when I was getting dressed, I had a sense, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I was talking about it or thinking about it, but Sisters at the Well also did the We See You Awards, which is where you were one of the first honorees. And I thought this morning as I'm getting dressed, I said, you know, we're locked down and I wonder where everyone is. There were 55 women in total over the course of 10 years that we did that We See You Awards. And Spirit said to me this morning, maybe you can do a We See You Awards online. Where are they now? This wasn't even an hour ago.
Wow.
So for you to remember that now and remind me, that's a confirmation. So I just throw that out.
Confirmation.
That's how God works.
Yeah.
You know, he'll just.
I mean, we have to be innovative in this time. You know, we've got to shift and we've got to adapt. And I'm seeing people that are used to singing or people used to doing comedy, and they're like, they still want to express their gifts, so they're doing it online. And I said, you know what, God, I've got to still teach. I've got to still connect. And so I've got to master this thing with the video and get over like, oh, I look too fat or my hair, just girl, get over it.
Or being afraid to touch the buttons, you know, being afraid of the technology. And like this morning, I had it, you know, several places set up. I have my phone, I have the 3 devices. And when something starts to look like it's not working, to not give up and just go in and do it. You know, hit every button that you can figure out. You can't break it.
I spent a day just hitting buttons and getting frustrated. And I said, Jewel, wait a minute. There are millions of people trying to get online now.
Right. So
and just it's like getting on the freeway. It's
be patient, wait your turn.
Wait my turn to get on the on-ramp.
But let me answer your question about my connection to women and men that I worked with in the airline industry, especially New York. When I started working for American Airlines, I was based in New York. And I lived there for 7 years. And of course, all of the women, primarily women that I went to flight school with, we were sent to New York. So that was my hub. And there are a handful of women that I'm still in touch with. This is 40 years ago that I'm still in touch with, but I have a dear, dear close friend, and her name is Barbara as well. I just spoke with her last week. And we got on the phone because when 9/11 hit, when you're in a family of folk like that, Stan being in the fire department, when things happen, you have your personal family, but you run towards those people who you are in the trenches with.
That's right. Extended family. Mm-hmm.
And I was in California. I had already moved from New York, living in California with my family. But I had such a desire to get on the plane and get to New York.
And check on them, yes.
And I had to, and I did. And I'm blessed to have the husband I have, because sometimes somebody else might have walked a long time ago with all the different paths that I tried to follow. But I got on the plane and went to New York, and I went to visit Barbara, and we stayed. She actually took me down to where the Twin Towers were, and we just had that moment. Well, last week when I called her, because of everything that's going on in New York, I just wanted to make sure she was safe and to hear her voice. And she said to me, "This is worse than 9/11. This is worse than 9/11. She said, 9/11 happened, it was over, and then we began right away to repair and restore.
And it was localized.
And it was localized, and we knew what it was." She said, "But this is something that we can't even explain." And then she shared with me that she's not flying. Well, she's senior enough to be able to select to be home. There are some younger flight attendants who just started, and they don't have a choice. They have to get on that airplane as long as the airplane is flying.
I see.
And so, it's a scary time. It's an uncertain time. And the anxiety level is way up high. And we have to, moment by moment, that's my encouragement to folks. I'm not telling people don't be anxious. I can't say that to you, because there are moments when I'm anxious.
Me too.
I can't tell people don't be afraid, because there's moments when I have fear, but I know what the application is for those anxious moments and the fearful moments. The application for me is God. So I go and say, "Hey, I'm fearful."
I go to the serenity prayer immediately. I go to the serenity prayer.
Yeah, I like that.
That grounds me, because we do want to control, and we have to give up control of our mobility.
Everything
has changed. So it's like, stop resisting it.
Right. Accept it.
And change what I can.
Yes.
And so that serenity prayer is what has been grounding me.
Yeah, I like that.
Saying things like, one day, when I wake up, okay, one day at a time. Because Barbara, you and I know that everything is temporary. Everything is. And I think we've been shaken up to be reminded to be in the moment, to be present, to be grateful, and to just trust God.
Yes.
And it can't be just a scripture anymore. We have to apply it like
right. Right. It's not a soundbite. This is
not
for
a
real.
Anymore.
Right. This is for real. Yeah.
Yes. So I loved your book. It's a very easy read, and I love the size of it. I love the 7 promises. I know 7 is a number of completion.
Yes.
I loved how you personalized it with family pictures. I loved how you're a great storyteller, and that is very important. I know as a speaker, and you know as a speaker, we have to be able to tell our story succinctly and in a way that people can find the gold in it and find the inspiration in it. And you did that so well in the book. How long did it take you to write the book?
This great question. This book I thought would take maybe 6 months. I sort of had a time frame in my mind based on my treatment for cancer. I thought, as I'm going through it, I'll, document the going through it, and then as I'm healing, I'll talk about the healing. And in my mind, I said maybe 6 months. 6 months came and went, and I said, okay, well, maybe a year. That's not bad, because when you go through cancer treatment, your cognitive ability is impacted.
Yes.
Ability to really hold thoughts for a long period of time, or even write thoughts without struggling. And I didn't want to force the book. I wanted it to really come naturally. So I said, okay, a year is good. And I tell you, Jewel, this book, and this is book number 7.
Yes.
This book took me around and around and around and around. I lost the manuscript about 3 times. Once I lost a computer, so everything was gone. Then another time, I don't know where it went in the computer. It just disappeared. The entire manuscript that I had typed. The good news is that
manuscript.
the
Wow.
entire. But the good news is that I'm a longhand writer, so I write in a notebook first before I type.
Wow.
That's just my process. And so I had my notes, and thank God I had my notes because I could go back and recreate. And the other thing I did that was critical to me being able to get it out was I would write either a chapter or a big segment of a chapter, and I would send it to my sister, who's my best friend. I would email it to my sister and say, this is what it was like my journal, like I was sharing my journal with her. And she would give me feedback. Well, thank God for those emails because I was able to go back and get them.
And a great backup system, yes.
Right. But to answer your question, it took 2 years to write the book. In fact, I was so anxious about the book, and I was so frustrated with not being able to complete it because I'm also the A-type personality, right?
Okay,
so I had a goal and I got to have it done. And I was so frustrated with not completing it that I tried to trick myself. I put an announcement out. You can order the book today. Order the book today. And then it'd be 3 months later and people be asking me, well, where's my book? And then I did a talk somewhere and I offered the book and people ordered it that day. I didn't get the book to these folks it had to be at least 7 or 8 months.
Oh
One
my goodness.
lady wrote me and she was like, didn't I pay you for a book? So as soon as they came out, I was able to go back and just, send it. But it was a 2-year project, but it didn't feel like 2 years. What it felt like for me was, it's gonna be finished when it's finished. And it would let me know. And
I love that you used the word restoration based on Jeremiah 30:17. So you have been restored. Was it breast cancer? What part of your body?
I had stage 3 breast cancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's someone in, I refer to my ministry ladies as our tribe. I'm the founder of Women on the Grow.
Yes.
And there's a sister in our tribe who is scheduled very soon for, I believe she's going to have a mastectomy. I cannot relate to the trauma and the terror that she's going through.
Yeah.
What would you say to her? Because I'm going to pray that she watches this when I publish it. What would you say to her? What hope can you give her about this journey of dealing with breast cancer? And even if her body is not restored, her mind and her faith, I want her to be restored in that way at least.
Well, there were 2 really significant things that happened in my life post-diagnose, being diagnosed. The first one, in the first week, and I know this from my training and my practice, I got still right away. But because of the way the diagnosis came, I needed to act fast in terms of getting a doctor, an oncologist, and a surgeon. So I got my best friends, 3 of my best friends, and I said, I don't have what I need to do that right now. Find my doctor and find me an oncologist and find me a surgeon. Find them in Palm Springs because I know that I got to get away from being available and in the energy that I was in.
That's right. You were living in Palm Springs for a while.
Right. But at the time that I got the diagnosis, we were in Los Angeles, and we had just, for the first time, moved to Los Angeles because I wanted to be in the city. So I knew I had to get out of there. Anyway, I asked these women to do that for me so that I could get still. In the stillness, I called on someone who I call a spiritual mentor, and that's a Yanwa. She was one of the 3 people that I called. And when I called her, I texted her and I told her what happened in the text because she is hard to catch. Yes. So I said, call me. I've been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Call me right away. And she didn't call right away. But when she did call, she said, I need to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's important.
She said, that's what I need to know. I need to know what you're thinking, not what the doctor said, any of that. So this is for your friend, your tribe member. What are you thinking? And she said, because whatever it is you are thinking, that's what you're going to manifest.
Exactly.
And that moment for me was a very defining moment, because I knew that I had to participate in my restoration.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was, and this came as I was in the middle of, that were big, big moments for me. When I was in the middle of treatment, maybe my third infusion, and the infusions are when you go in, if you have to take chemo, and maybe she doesn't have to do that, but it's a really painful process. You're sitting there for 7 to 8 hours while they're infusing your body with a poison, which that's what it is. They tell you what it is.
Yes.
And we don't quite know exactly what the poison is going to do, but here are some of the symptoms. You're going to lose your hair, your nails are going to fall off, you're going to lose your sense of taste, maybe smell, your cognitive ability is going to shift, your everything, right? So they tell you all of that.
Yes.
I knew that in the midst of that the physical pain, I felt that I could deal with that. I felt I was strong enough to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I wasn't sure about was the emotional pain.
Yes.
I wasn't sure about that. I hadn't been tested on that level before. So I remember this day being in a conversation with my surgeon, my husband in the room, and we were talking about coming out of the surgery after having a double mastectomy,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the surgery and going immediately into a second surgery to begin the process for restoring breast, where they can give you implants.
Uh-huh.
And so the two men were talking, my surgeon and Stan, and they were talking, and it was a light moment, but a serious moment.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you get to pick what you want, and and all this, and
Yes.
and I'm listening to them, and then the surgeon is explaining what the surgery is. And then when they realized that I wasn't participating in the conversation, my surgeon said, so what do you think? And my response to him, and it just downloaded in my spirit, was, I asked God to restore my life.
Come on. Yes.
I didn't ask him for breast.
See.
I looked at Stan and I said, my breasts have served everybody well.
Come on now.
You got some, your kids got some, everybody got some. I'm good.
I want restoration.
I want my life.
Yes.
That's what I want. So to your tribe member, those two moments for me was was those defining moments when I knew that I was in partnership with God.
Come on.
For the rest of my life. Whether it was another 6 months or whether it's 3 years and I'm 3 years out. But I knew that for the rest of my life, that my partnership with God was going to be different.
Yes. And you know what, Barbara, that's what I'm sensing with this crisis that we're going through.
Yes.
A lot of people are going to recover or escape the disease, but the emotional damage is where I come in my counseling with so many people, that the emotional toll can take them out.
Yes.
And I wonder what they're thinking. So you're so true in the fact that we have to choose what we're thinking through this process.
Yes.
And we have to be guardians. As Solomon said, you've got to guard your heart. And we have to be very careful of the words that are coming out of our mouth.
Yes.
Both my mother and my son did not survive cancer. My mother had breast cancer, and my son had cancer just all over the body. but I
Wow.
think it was because he was more predisposed because of being sickle cell.
Oh,
But
yes. Okay.
but what you said speaks volumes of, and I've been teaching this for years, just trying to drill it down, the
Mhm.
power of our thoughts. And it's not a hocus pocus, it's real. The
Mhm.
mind body connection, the mind body connection. And I think if people are already, before this happened, they were already in a mindset of doom and gloom and the glass is half full and
Yes,
whatever. I think that this crisis we're in now just takes them over the top.
it can,
You
but
know what
they
I
can
mean?
shift.
They can shift if
They
they
can
hear
shift.
messages and they
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
examples and they hear testimonies like yours
Mhm.
that this thing is real, what we are thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, in your recovery, your hair growing back, and you're just,
Mhm.
I see you just going everywhere, just traveling and speaking and leading and being a part of many think tanks.
Yeah.
Um, there, I have to have a moment of transparency here. I
Mhm.
need, the motivators and the influencers and the encouragers need to be encouraged and need.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I need you to pour into me for a minute because you're a coach and I'm a coach, but
Yes.
I have my coaches.
Every coach needs a coach.
Yes, and I'm like in this transition, all my speaking engagements were canceled. We don't know how long this is going to last, and I'm like, Lord, I'm being tested to know that I'm not just a coach. I'm not just a speaker. I'm not just. I have to not get so locked into that I start feeling like I'm not viable, I'm not valuable, that there's nothing else for me to do. And I'm almost at that point where I'm shifting and I'm saying, okay, God, how do I need to show up now?
Now what?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's what you asked in your book, like what's next? You talked about that on the back of the book, that those are the questions we ask when we run smack dab into
Yes.
a wall. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, what's next? Because our ego dies, our agenda, our expectations,
Yes.
all of that has to go. And then we have to stand before God, like you said, you're in partnership with God, which means now you have to be very vulnerable, very open, very fluid, very
Mhm.
trusting, right?
Sometimes, so in this time,
Yeah.
and two thoughts came at the same time. That happens to me a lot.
Yes.
I'm going to try to hold this one. But when this happened 2 weeks ago, when it started really bubbling up, I was at a summit. The book had just come out the Friday, and the Wednesday I traveled to DC for a summit, Black Women's Roundtable, and I had participated in their summit for 8 years. And only in the last 2 years that I was being compensated for it. But I was there for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the organizer of it is a woman that I just love and believe in her work. And so whenever I can, I show up for her.
Yes.
And so I actually called her and said, hey, listen, my book just came out and I want to come. I'm going to New York on the 12th, but I want to come to you on the 6th and I can spend 3 days there. Long story short, she ordered 200 copies of the book. It was my first order.
Wow.
I was like, whoo, 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 thank you, Lord.
Great start, yes.
2 years writing it, and then I had 7 cities lined up, a 7-city tour. And you're a writer, you know how this works.
Yes.
I made the investment in the book. It took much longer. So my investment was about $10,000 total, which was more than any other book that I did, right? I'm a self-published author.
I am too.
And so $10,000 I invested in the book. So it required, I said, okay, so my number for breaking somewhat even is about 600 copies. That's what I need to put out.
Yes.
So we started out with 200 copies. And then I had 7 cities to go. So I was like, okay, God, I'm right on track to be able to reinvest this money back into my business. Well, when I traveled back from DC, I was supposed to be home for 3 days and then go to the UN for Women's History Month, and that was going to be a big to-do. I had 100 copies of the book. All of that shut down in one day. Because when I got back home, my assistant said, so you're hearing the news? And I said, yeah, and I don't like it. So what you should do is call the folks in New York. I know that my system is compromised already. I also know that I also know that I'm in the over 60 category.
Me too.
And I also know that New York was having the biggest outbreak. So I said, call the folks in New York. I'll be happy to send the books, but I'm not going to take the risk of going to New York and getting stuck. That's what I thought I would get stuck there.
Yes.
So that big shift, that started every single day we canceled a day. And then finally I just said, cancel it. I had a friend call me who's another coach, and she said, girl, you know, this, and verbatim, this is an opportunity time. We can really make our money this time. We can, and she's going through looking for the opportunity for the business to thrive. And although that in my head, that sounded like that's a good strategy. But my heart was saying, that's not you. That's not your space. That's not what you represent. So I encouraged her to do what she thought was best for her. And then I had to come back and check in with me and say, okay, so God, that's not what we do, right? Because we're partners.
Okay.
So what are we gonna do?
What's we gonna do?
Because I'm staying home. And in fact, not only did I cancel those 7 cities, I canceled, Jewel, the entire 2020. Everything that was on my calendar, all the summer things that I had lined up.
Yeah.
Said, well, just push it back to October. Nope, cancel, take it off. New slate time.
Doesn't that take courage? It takes tremendous courage to do that. That is an act of trusting God. Like, God, clean slate. I know you're going to
slate, but we're in partnership. And sometimes, and this was the second thought, in every marriage, and you've been in a long-term one, so you know,
50 years.
It requires rotating of the leadership. It requires that, right? Some days I get to lead, some days you get to lead.
Like a dance.
Right? Some days we argue over who's gonna lead, right? So my thing with God was, okay, I don't have to tell you, you already know what I put in. I don't have to tell you anything.
You already know.
I'm gonna clear the slate. It's your turn.
Yes.
Tag, you're it, God.
That's it. I love that.
I trust. We've been in partnership for a long time. So look, you know I'm not gonna let you down, at least not when I'm in my right mind. And I absolutely know that you are not gonna let me down. So I don't know what it's gonna be, but what I do know now is I can use technology a little better than I was using it 3 weeks ago, because I always call people to press buttons for me. Now I'm pressing my own buttons. And last night we had a wonderful live. I pressed all the buttons. I was so happy. Set it up, everything.
New skill set. You got a new skill set.
Okay, so we don't know what's gonna happen, but I do trust my partner.
Amen.
I do trust my partner, and that's what I would offer to anyone in this season. And no, and I did something. I was asking for a $10 donation on the first live I did 2 weeks ago on Facebook, because I have a group of young women. And by the way, if you know any young women living alone, feeling isolated, without work, send me their names. If I can help, I will. So I put that out.
Outreach we're doing also. There's several ladies in our tribe that are single, and we're making sure that we're staying connected to them, and if they need anything, that's so important.
It might be an Amazon will take care of it. So last week we were able to, so I put this thing out. I said, cash at me if you, whatever, from $5 to $500, whatever you want. And someone asked me, they said, well, $10, you know, you're going to be coaching. And I said, wait a minute, let's not get confused. I don't coach for $10. No. This is not a fee.
Yes.
This is an offering.
That's right.
If you choose to do it, great. But if you don't, I'm good with that too. The offering is still going to be online. because I'm not worried about what's going to happen with me. My partner is leading this part.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's confirmation that I'm on that same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
Many people would scold me and say, oh, you're just giving it away. No, I'm not. I'm trusting God,
Yeah.
because there are people that want to hold on to their dollars right now, but they need my service. And then there are people that are looking for an opportunity. They want to give. And like, where can I give?
Yeah.
And so I've seen actually an increase in giving on my end of people saying,
Yes. Thank
I want to
God.
give. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, because I was expecting this, but I
Yes.
too have got to apply everything that I've been teaching, all the books that I've written.
Yes.
I've been rereading my books like,
You got to be your own student.
like, okay, God, that's right. Breathe. Let me try. Let me bend, but not break. Let
That's
me go
right.
on. And then also, because I've never had the scare that you've had health-wise, but the scare I had with losing my son in a 6-week window, getting the notice and then 6 weeks gone, surviving that, I believe, is helping me to get through this. It's like, you know what? If I could get through that, the worst nightmare any parent could ever have, it's like, you know what? I've been through the crucible. What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
You know, I came out sane. I continue to flourish. My husband and I got through it because the death of a child can either break a marriage or make you stronger. And we've been together 50 years. In fact, your husband was at our wedding, Johnson.
Wow.
Your family was at our wedding. And we lived in the same apartment building. So it's like, you know what? When you look back and you see all the things that God has covered you and brought you through, you're like, well, yeah, this is a bigger, on a scale of tragedy and risk and exposure. Yes, it's bigger, but something in me says, Jewel, if you survive that, whatever the outcome is going to be, you're going to be okay.
Yes.
And that's what I want my God is this to know. And I figured that it's the same thing with you probably. That has been such a tremendous scare for you and your family. And together, as you read your book and you see the unity of your family, you know, your tribe, the people around you lifting you up, to get on the other side of that, to be restored, is giving someone hope. We're not saying that it's for everybody. Everybody's going to get out of this clean. We know that the numbers are painful and the suffering is real. I know 3 people, 6 degrees of separation that I know that have suffered because of this, had lost. So I'm not naive.
Yeah.
I am a realist, but I'm also an optimist.
Yeah.
Can you relate?
Science, God gave us science. You know, there's a academic, intellectual well of information that God allowed people to draw down from. Those are our scientists and our doctors and those first responders, right? So when they say, based on what they know, past experiences, based on what they know, they can forecast, give you a projection of what they think is coming. So the projection is that almost 200,000 lives will be lost, right, in this country.
Yes.
There is no way to think about that projection and not feel like it could be my neighbor, my brother, my cousin. In the midst of this, and I'm sure you know Willa Robinson. Willa, and she doesn't mind if I call her name. Willa is my publisher. We were talking just days before her husband passed away last week.
I didn't know that. I do know her, but I did not know she.
Her husband died. He was in a nursing home. He contracted the virus, and within days, he passed. Here's what's so different in the world. And I talked about this a little bit last night. Didn't want to go into scaring people, but here's our reality. First and foremost, we all gonna die.
That's it.
We that's the way this thing, we came from the earth and we're going back there, right? God will determine that. We don't know when that's going to happen, right? We don't know of the 200,000 people that is going to maybe lose their lives if we're not in that number. We don't know that. So listen, every day, every moment of the day is an opportunity for us every time we take a breath to say, you must have something else for me to do, God. I'm still here. So that's one big thing. The other really serious thing is that life as we knew it 2 weeks ago is different. Willa did not have the opportunity to stand by her husband's bedside.
That's what's heartbreaking. Yeah.
When I looked last weekend, I think Thursday, at the New York press conference, and they showed the pictures of these large refrigerated trucks.
I know.
Putting bodies in them, and then having to come back the next day and put shelves in there because the bodies were countless. And then they showed a mortuary where the mortician in Brooklyn said, I am afraid because bodies are, and they showed inside the mortuary, bodies covered and just all over the place. And I said, you know what, this is different.
This is different.
And we're not, the way we think about, even if it's a sudden death, we still get an opportunity to have some physical closure.
Some type of closure, exactly.
Physical closure, right? I can see you, I can touch you, I can decide how you're going to be dressed.
Right. I know what your last moments were like.
I know what your moments. The nurses and the doctors are now the new families to these folks. So I'm saying to people who are calling me with distressful conversations, including myself, listen, I was preparing. If you see my live, look at it later on today. I was preparing. I have a bag where I keep all of our end of life things, all the information that I want my family to have. And I've been doing this for a long time. We actually have, both Stan and I are from big families. I have 10 siblings. There were 10 of us and there were 7 of them. So big families. So when we were in our early stages of marriage, we started buying burial plots. We have 5 of them. And the reason we started doing that, and God had blessed us, I mean, we both had fairly decent jobs, so we could carve out $50 a month to pay for this. And we did that. We have 5 of them because family members were passing and there was never enough, it appeared, for the funerals. So they were always collecting and collecting. So I said to Stan, you know what? We know our parents, let's prepare for them. So we prepared for our parents, our siblings. We certainly prepared for ourselves. So last week I pulled the bag out and I was looking to make, because things have changed, make sure that I had updated phone numbers, updated everything. And the day before that, I had ordered from Amazon a book called What to Do When I'm Gone. And it almost looks like a children's book, but it's not. Big, colorful hardback book. Well, Stan got the mail that day when it came. And I had just gone to the doctor, by the way, I was tested for coronavirus because I was having some what looked like symptoms.
Yes.
So I was isolated in my bedroom and we were separated for those 10 days. So we were in the middle of that. He goes to the mailbox, he gets this book out the mailbox that said, What to Do When I'm Gone.
He must have
and he saw me in the bed with all these papers, updating my papers. Jesus. In that room with that book, and he said, What are you not telling me?
Come on.
And he was visibly really upset. And I was like, no. I'm just getting stuff together. And this was difficult.
This is a difficult conversation.
But this is what we have to do now.
I know the kind of conversations that we have to have, these awkward, uncomfortable conversations.
Uncomfortable. I was waiting for my coronavirus test results. So when I got the results, of course, so I put everything down because I said, he can't handle this, right? I put it all down. I would only work on it when he was either asleep or in another room. And then I got my test results back and it was negative and I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I pulled my books back out and I said, listen, Stanley, the way this thing is working, if something happens to me or you or one of our children, It's a moment's notice.
Woo! Yes.
It's a moment's notice. If my test results, praise God that it came back the way it did, but had it not, our life would have been completely separated immediately, right? And only God knows what would happen. So what I am doing now is preparing myself differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm encouraging people to have that conversation. Willa could not see her husband. Her husband was being shipped to Kansas City.
Come on.
And she couldn't get on an airplane to go. So my conversation with her was, is cremation an option for you? And the possibility of having a memorial service later. Is that a possibility? I'm not trying to put my beliefs on anybody, but I said, as a possibility, it may be when I see all these bodies in these refrigerated trucks, they cannot hold those bodies because a lot of them are contaminated with the disease.
Yes.
So cremation may be the only option.
Probably will be.
And at some point, who knows what this government is going to do? It may decide that that's it. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, no option. No option.
So wouldn't it be best if we make our own plan? Something that we can create and design in case. God gives us wisdom. That's not saying I don't have faith in him. I believed I would be restored, but I made sure while I was going through cancer that my family knew where everything was.
Yeah.
That anything that I had was laid out the way my will was in place. At some point, someday they're gonna use it.
Absolutely.
But praise God, they didn't use it in the last 3 years.
Yeah. This year we lost a 101-year-old aunt, my mother's sister. And she had everything in place. She made it so easy for the family, you know, and to see the ease on the family, the stress that wasn't there. It's like we owe that to our family members.
It's a gift.
You don't have that stress, you know. And like I tell people, you plan for your parents, but you don't plan for your child. We didn't have a plan.
God, I can't even imagine, Joel. My heart just ached for you and others. Yeah.
And I remember when Ayala went through it with Jamia.
Oh, God.
You just don't have a plan. And so these type of upheavals and kicks in your stomach, what I would like to say to listeners is that when this is over or it just gets better, let us not go back to sleep. Let us remember this type of a difficult conversation. We can't go back to sleep because if it's not this, it's going to be something else.
That's right.
And we know that our lives are temporary. So let's think about our family members. Let's get those things done. And thank you for putting that on the table today. This very difficult, awkward, conversation.
Hard conversation. Hard. I heard in a meditation yesterday, Yanla does these, she's been doing lately, these morning lives. And she said, this is our shake up to wake up.
Yes, it is.
I said, oh, okay, I got that. It's a shake up.
Because we've been walking around on cruise control, like everything is fine.
I know.
And mortgages are going up and children are in cages. Violence and people can't find a job and people sleep on the street. And we're just walking around, you know, and it's like the world says, stop.
Right now. No warning. Not I'm going to do it in 5 days. Like today. Stop. Yes.
So children at no school and parents are trying to figure it out. So there's a lot going on. And I thank you for this conversation. I'm going to hold back the tears because you are confirmation. You are a teacher, you are a leader. And when the Holy Spirit said, call Barbara, I was like, okay, maybe she won't be available or maybe whatever, but I had no idea that you had self-quarantined yourself. And I'm glad that you got through that. And
Thank you.
Give my love to your entire family. And you and I are grandmothers, and we just love those
I
babies.
love your Cody.
And he is
It's so juicy.
oh my God, he just gives me life, and I cannot wait to see him again. And I
I
pray
know.
all the children, what kind of world were they born into? And I was like, I try not to go down that rabbit's hole. Like, what kind of future is my baby gonna have? It's like, Jill, stop it.
Right.
Just stop it. You
Right.
know, live in the moment, do the best that you can, make those memories. I take lots of videos, I take lots of pictures.
Yes.
And I just try to show up and fulfill my divine assignment.
Yes.
Take time with me today just blesses me, and I'm giving you a
Thank
virtual
you.
hug.
Yay, right back to you.
Time to hug.
Yes, ma'am. I love you. I love you. And thank you for what you're doing. And God is going to
And I pray
bless
that
your hands.
our viewers will get your book. Tell them how they can reach you, Barbara, how they can get your book.
Restoration, 7 Promises of God. You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Or you can, if you'd like, you can go to my website, which is Image Builders, ETC, imagebuildersetc.com.
Okay, I'll make sure that we include that in the video once we publish it. She has other books on mentoring. Is that alignment with Susan Taylor?
I ran her company in LA for 6 years. Yeah, I started the mentoring chapter in LA.
All right, and then she has a book on grief. What prompted that? Did you lose a loved one?
Losing my mama. I lost my mama, and I thought I was losing my mind.
I know, I did. I did.
And I said, okay.
She's got a book on betrayal. What prompted that?
Friendships, girl. When they go south, for me, it was, girlfriend friendships. It wasn't so much a love relationship.
I've experienced that too. And I tell you, it is a shock because you invest in your friendships.
Oh, yeah.
Like you invest in a marriage, and it's like, wait a minute, what happened? And then you have a book on marriage, and you've been married for 33 years now?
35 it'll be this year.
Congratulations. So
we're trying to catch y'all.
Well, on behalf of my husband, John, he's giving his greetings to your husband, Stanley. He said, ask him, is he still making sausage? John remembers his sausage.
Yes, he does.
Sausage. Yeah, and he's a cook. Tell him to come over here and teach my husband how to cook.
Girl.
I had to get reacquainted with my stove. I'm cooking every day.
Ooh-wee. Well, I'm grateful. I eat leftovers. That's what I fix. But he cooks the main meal.
Not only should we be aware of these mood swings, but the food swings. Be very careful, everybody out there, because I have those mood swings where I'm up and then I'm up, and then I have those food swings. Get away from that refrigerator and all those snacks.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get me a little exercise bike in here this week because it's out of control.
Well, everybody, we're ending with laughter and a smile. We're ending with hope and joy and gratitude. And we pray that you will reach out to both of us. We are both coaches. I will have all the contact information there. This is an amazing woman, has a reservoir of insight and wisdom. And you're also an island girl. I'm an island girl too. My family's from Jamaica.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So no. We're both island girls. We're both.
I didn't know that.
We're both ministers. We're both authors. We're both speakers. We're both sisters who rock and boss ladies and entrepreneurs and grandmothers. So there's so much in common. And again, I love you and I appreciate you. And I always end by saying, stay in the light.
Thank you.